it's Dennis from the Right Stuff. We're out in the shop today working on our 1969 Chevelle project car. We're installing our Street Series factory GM style front disc brake set. This step in the process, we're going to pack the front wheel bearings with grease. We're going to install the inner wheel seal into the rotor, and then we're going to install the rotor onto the spindle. The parts that we're going to use in this step are the brake rotor, the Timken inner and outer wheel bearings that are included with every Right Stuff brake kit. We have an inner wheel seal. We have a thrust washer, a castellated nut, otherwise known as a castle nut. We have a cotter pin that holds everything in place, and a dust cap that keeps everything clean. You will need some high quality wheel bearing grease available at your local parts store. You're also going to need an 1 1/16 wrench to tighten the castle nut, a dead blow or a rubber mallet to insert the wheel seal into the back of the rotor, and a small pair of pliers to bend the cotter pin. The next step will be packing the roller bearings with grease. The term packing the grease refers to filling the space in between the races and the rollers with your wheel bearing grease. Start by taking a generous amount of your wheel bearing grease and place it into the palm of your opposite hand. Take the bearing. I like to start from the back, and you work the grease down into the bearing. There's the back side. You just kind of roll it around your hand, pressing the grease in there. Then I like to go from the front and then roll it front to back, side to side. Get her all filled and wipe off the excess. Set that aside for installation in the car. Go ahead and do the small one. Add a little more grease if necessary. Just work her down in there. Roll it till you get all the grooves filled. Wipe off some excess and set them aside on a clean surface, and they're ready to install in the rotor. Next, let's install the inner wheel bearing and the wheel seal. Start by applying a fair amount of grease to the large inner race on the rotor. Although no grease gets packed deep into the bore of the rotor, I do like to spread a thin coat in there to help prevent corrosion. Once you have a nice coating like that on the inner race, insert your previously packed big wheel bearing. Next up, we'll install the inner wheel seal into the rotor. Start by placing the seal flat side up into the inside of the rotor. I like to use a socket, same size as the seal. You can use a seal driver or a block of wood if you don't have one. Gently tap the seal evenly into the rotor, being careful not to damage it. Inspection after the install will show the seal clean and good condition, evenly inserted all the way around. Next up, we'll insert our packed outer wheel bearing into the rotor, followed by the thrust washer, followed by the castle nut. Next, we're going to adjust the front wheel bearings with the castle nut. The General Motors factory service manual for Camaro and Chevelle recommends turning the rotor while tightening the nut to 12 foot-pounds. Once you feel it gets snug, you want to back the nut off one flat of the castle nut in relation to the hole for the cotter pin. Check that your rotor spins freely with no preload, and you're ready to insert the pin.